Your partner turns away the moment you reach for her at night. She gives excuses about being tired, having a headache, needing to wake up early. You lie there wondering what changed, why the spark disappeared, when things became this mechanical. Here's what nobody tells you: her body has six specific zones that, when touched correctly, will make her forget about every excuse she ever had. Most men treat a woman's body like a light switch. Touch here, press there, expect immediate results. That's the fastest way to permanent disappointment. Her body operates on an entirely different system than yours, one that requires understanding rather than assumption. Medical science confirms what ancient wisdom always knew. Certain areas of her body contain concentrated nerve endings that, when stimulated properly, trigger cascading responses throughout her entire system. The difference between a woman who pulls away and one who pulls you closer often comes down to whether you know these six zones and, more importantly, whether you understand how to approach them. Let's start with the most overlooked area: her neck and the space behind her ears. This region contains more nerve endings per square inch than almost anywhere else on her body. When you brush your lips softly along the side of her neck, when you whisper against the skin just below her ear, when you trace gentle patterns from her collarbone upward, you're activating thousands of receptors simultaneously. But here's what separates men who succeed from those who fail: pressure and timing. Too hard and it feels aggressive. Too soft and it tickles uncomfortably. The sweet spot exists right in between, firm enough to register but gentle enough to tease. Notice her breathing when you do this correctly. It changes rhythm, deepens. That's your confirmation signal. The second zone catches most men completely off guard because they rush past it every single time: her lower back and the curve just above her hips. Run your hands slowly down her spine, letting your fingertips trace the muscles on either side. Apply gentle pressure in small circles right where her back begins to curve. This area connects directly to her pelvic region through nerve pathways that most people don't even realize exist. Massage here releases tension she's been carrying all day while simultaneously building anticipation for what comes next. Ancient practices understood this connection. Modern neuroscience confirms it. Zone 3: the inside of her wrists and forearms. Sounds strange, doesn't it? Yet this area contains incredibly sensitive skin with minimal fat beneath it, meaning every touch registers intensely. Hold her hand and slowly trace your thumb from her palm up the inside of her forearm. Light touches work better than firm ones here. The goal isn't pressure but awareness, making her conscious of sensations she normally ignores. This builds what researchers call somatic focusing, training her mind to pay attention to physical sensations rather than the mental checklist she's been running all day. You're essentially helping her brain shift gears from doing mode to feeling mode. Now we reach zone 4, the one that seems obvious but gets handled incorrectly 90% of the time: her breasts and the surrounding areas. Here's the mistake: going directly for the most sensitive spots immediately. Her body needs build up. Start with the areas around and beneath. Trace along her rib cage. Cup gently from underneath without squeezing. Let your hands warm the entire area before you even think about focusing on the peaks. When you finally do, alternate between different types of touch: circles, light pinches, warm breath, cool air. Variation prevents adaptation. If you do the same thing for too long, her nerves literally stop responding as strongly. Keep changing the stimulus. The fifth zone exists somewhere most men never consider: her inner thighs. Not right at the top where you're obviously heading, but lower down, midway between knee and hip. The skin here is incredibly soft and rarely touched, making it hyper responsive when you finally pay attention to it. Use your fingertips, your palms, even the backs of your hands. Stroke upward but don't rush to the destination. Let anticipation build. Her body will literally start preparing itself when you stimulate this area correctly, increasing blood flow to adjacent regions, releasing hormones that heighten sensitivity everywhere. Patience here pays compound interest later. The sixth zone requires the most finesse: the small of her back transitioning into her hips and the upper curve of her buttocks. This area links directly to her pelvic floor muscles through fascial connections. When you massage here with firm, slow pressure, you're indirectly stimulating internal structures she can't even consciously control. Your hands should move in waves, not pokes. Think of kneading dough rather than pressing buttons. The rhythm matters as much as the location. But here's the secret that transforms everything: sequence and integration. Touching these zones randomly accomplishes nothing. They need to be activated in an order that builds momentum, each one preparing her nervous system for the next level of stimulation. Start with her neck to signal safety and intimacy. Move to her lower back to release physical tension. Transition to her wrist to shift her mental focus. Return to her breasts once her body is ready. Tease her inner thighs to build specific anticipation. Finish at her lower back and hips to activate those deep connections. The entire process should take 15 to 20 minutes minimum. You're not wasting time, you're investing it. Most men treat this like a recipe: touch here, press there, mission accomplished. That's precisely why it fails. Your partner isn't a vending machine where inserting the correct sequence of inputs guarantees a specific output. She's a complex biological system influenced by stress levels, hormone fluctuations, trust, past experiences, and whether she remembered to send that work email before bed. All of this matters. Let me share something physicians rarely discuss with patients. Arousal and orgasm involve completely different neurological pathways in women compared to men. For you, the process is relatively linear. Stimulation leads fairly predictably to response. For her, it's circular. Her mind affects her body, which affects her mind, which affects her body. One negative thought can derail the entire process, sending her back to square one, even if physically everything seemed to be progressing. This is why the zones I've described aren't magic buttons, but rather on ramps, helping her enter and stay on that circular pathway. Temperature plays a role most people ignore completely. Cold hands are arousal killers. Before you touch her anywhere sensitive, warm your hands. Rub them together, hold them under warm water, whatever works. The contrast between cold fingers and warm skin triggers a stress response, the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve. Similarly, the room temperature matters. If she's shivering, her body is prioritizing survival over reproduction. Biology is straightforward about this. Pressure variation separates amateurs from experts. Too light and it tickles, activating defensive responses rather than pleasurable ones. Too firm and it hurts, obviously counterproductive. The sweet spot exists right in between, and it's different for every woman and every zone. Start lighter than you think necessary and gradually increase based on her reactions. Heavy breathing means you're on track. Tensing up means you've gone too far. Stillness might mean she's not feeling much at all. Read the feedback her body provides constantly. Here's something that will change your entire approach. She needs to feel desired, not serviced. There's a massive difference between touching her because you're working through a checklist to get to the main event versus touching her because you genuinely find her body fascinating and attractive. She can absolutely tell the difference. Your enthusiasm matters. If you're treating this like a chore you need to complete before you can have fun, she'll sense it and her body will shut down accordingly. Authenticity cannot be faked in intimate moments. The concept of responsive desire explains why spontaneity doesn't work for most women the way it does for men. You might feel desire first, then seek out intimacy. She often experiences it the opposite way. Intimacy and touch create the desire. This means she might genuinely not be in the mood when you start, but that doesn't predict where she'll be 15 minutes later if you create the right conditions. Don't interpret initial neutrality as rejection. Understand it as her natural starting point. Communication transforms everything, but timing matters. Don't ask, "Does this feel good?" 17 times in 5 minutes. That forces her out of her body and into her analytical mind, exactly where she doesn't need to be. Instead, make statements she can confirm or redirect. I'm going to focus here for a bit, giving her the chance to say yes or suggest something different. Create permission for her to guide you without putting her on the spot constantly. The biggest mistake happens right when you think you're making progress. You find something that generates a positive response, so you keep doing exactly that: same pressure, same rhythm, same everything. Then you wonder why she seemed close but never quite got there. Here's why. Her nervous system adapts. What felt incredible 30 seconds ago becomes background noise if you don't introduce variation. Change the pattern slightly. Alternate between two different techniques. Build and release tension rather than maintaining constant stimulation. Think of it like music. Songs without dynamics bore us quickly. What about women who seem completely unresponsive no matter what you try? First, eliminate medical factors. Hormonal birth control, antidepressants, thyroid issues, and dozens of other conditions can significantly dampen physical responses. This isn't about technique, it's about chemistry. Second, consider psychological barriers. Past trauma, religious conditioning, shame about her body, fear of vulnerability. These create walls that no amount of correct touching will breach. Professional help might be necessary, and that's completely okay. For women who respond but never seem to reach climax, the issue usually isn't physical technique but mental permission. She might unconsciously believe she doesn't deserve pleasure, or that taking too long makes her broken, or that losing control is dangerous. These beliefs operate below conscious awareness but powerfully affect physical responses. Creating safety means repeatedly demonstrating that her pleasure matters to you independent of your own, that there's no time limit, that her body's responses are perfect exactly as they are. Everything I've described requires something most men struggle with: patience without expectation. You're creating conditions, not forcing outcomes. Some nights, everything works perfectly. Other nights, despite doing everything right, her body doesn't cooperate because she's exhausted or stressed or hormonal. That's normal. The goal isn't perfect success every single time, but rather building a foundation of trust and understanding that pays dividends over months and years. Your role isn't to give her an orgasm like it's a gift you bestow. Your role is to create the space where her body feels safe enough to let go completely. That's the difference between men who create lasting intimacy and those who wonder why their partner always has excuses. These six zones aren't tricks or manipulation. They're simply understanding how her body actually works instead of how you assume it works. The neck that craves gentle attention, the lower back that releases tension and builds anticipation simultaneously. The wrists that shift her focus from her racing thoughts to physical sensation. The breasts that need build up rather than immediate intensity. The inner thighs that create anticipation when touched with patience, the hips and lower back that connect to everything happening deeper inside her body. String them together in sequence. Invest the time, read her responses, adjust accordingly. What changes isn't just her physical response, but the entire dynamic between you. She stops viewing intimacy as another demand on her already exhausted self and starts experiencing it as something her body actually craves. The excuses disappear not because you convinced her, but because her body started reminding her what she's been missing. Stop rushing. Stop assuming. Stop treating her body like it operates identically to yours. Learn these zones, understand the sequence, create the conditions. Her body will show you exactly what's been missing this entire time.